This is the story they could not bury because it is written in your very cells. It is the history not of kings and wars, but of a silent war against consciousness itself. A war waged with a molecule so simple. Its complexity is its perfect camouflage. For the next hour, we will not discuss alcohol. We will dissect ethanol, the phylogenetic inhibitor. We will trace its fingerprints from the primordial soup to your prefrontal cortex, from the altar of the temple to the altar of your own self-betrayal. I am Napoleon inspires, and this is the ultimate forensic archaeology of the human spirit. We will excavate 10 layers of subversion. By the end, you will not think differently. You will see differently, and seeing is the first act of the free. Layer 1, the Primordial Pact, ethanol, and the origin of self-domestication. Let us begin not with history, but with prehistory. With biology so fundamental it precedes thought. Ethanol is a natural byproduct of fermentation. Ripe fruit falls, yeast feast, ethanol is produced. Our distant primate ancestors possessed an enzyme, alcohol dehydrogenase, ADH4, that allowed them to metabolize this ethanol. The evolutionary theory? It allowed them to access fallen, fermented fruit, a calorie source when others were scarce. But consider a more provocative hypothesis. What if this was not merely a metabolic adaptation, but the first neurological bargain? The foraging primate, eating fermented fruit, experienced the world's first intoxication. Stress diminished. Social anxiety within the troop lowered. The immediate, harsh reality of survival softened. The brain recorded, "This state is preferable to baseline awareness." This may be the primordial seed of the human condition. The ingrained, biological memory that altered consciousness provides relief from the burden of awareness. We didn't discover intoxication with civilization. We inherited a craving for it from our pre-human ancestors. Ethanol is not a human invention. It is an evolutionary relic with a neurological hook already embedded in our lineage. Our civilization did not create the need. It merely industrialized the delivery system for a pre-existing biological vulnerability. Layer 2. The agricultural lock-in, from nomad to serf. Now to the dawn of cities. The standard narrative is placid. Farming led to surplus. Surplus led to beer and wine, which became part of culture. We must invert this. The neurochemical reward of early alcohol was not a consequence of settlement. It was likely the causal engine for accepting settlement. The hunter-gatherer mind is a state of acute, distributed, sovereign attention. It is tuned to a vast, changing environment. It is free, nomadic, and dangerous to any forming hierarchy. Farming is the opposite: repetitive, monotonous, future-obsessed, and hierarchical. It is cognitive torture to the hunter-gatherer brain. What substance could possibly convince a being of sovereign awareness to accept a life of dull, backbreaking routine? A substance that artificially induces a state of present-focused, anxiety-less, socially bonded passivity. Alcohol didn't celebrate the harvest. It anesthetized the cognitive dissonance of the agricultural revolution. It was the psychological wage paid to the newly created peasant. It made serfdom neurologically tolerable by chemically suppressing the parts of the brain that screamed for freedom, variety, and immediacy. The first cities were not just built on grain and water. They were built on a barley-based pacification program. The wall around the city kept people in. The brewery inside kept them psychologically compliant. Layer 3. The mystical impostor, usurping the sacred. As human consciousness evolved, so did its yearning for the transcendent. Shamanism arose, the original technology for navigating altered states of consciousness. But these states were accessed through deliberate, dangerous, sacred means: fasting, pain, sensory deprivation, psychoactive plants used in precise ritual context. The shaman's journey was a negotiated passage into the non-ordinary. It had a purpose: healing, divination, communing with spirits. The return was as important as the ascent. Alcohol presented itself as the democratic, desacralized shaman. No ritual needed, no guide, No intention, no difficult return, just a crash. It performed a devastating cultural heist. It separated altered states from wisdom. True mystical states expand consciousness. Alcohol constricts it. Sacred plants used in ritual often increase neuroplasticity and connectivity. Alcohol degrades and disconnects. The shaman brought back knowledge for the tribe. The drunk brought back confusion for himself. Yet, to the masses, the surface was similar, an escape from the mundane. Alcohol became the counterfeit sacrament. It created a world where the pursuit of the divine could be confused with, and eventually replaced by, the pursuit of oblivion. It built a church where the altar was a bar, the ritual was a toast, and the only spirit was in the bottle. Layer 4. The dopamine colonization, rewriting the map of human desire. We must now understand desire. Human motivation is not random. It is mapped by a dopaminergic landscape. Our brains assign value to activities and outcomes, and dopamine is the currency of that value. We move toward what our brain predicts will be rewarding. For millennia, this landscape was shaped by natural and cultural imperatives. The hunt, food, dopamine, social bonding, safety, dopamine, discovery, novelty, dopamine, artistic creation, legacy, dopamine. Alcohol introduced a superstimulus. It directly pharmacologically triggers a dopamine tsunami orders of magnitude greater than anything achievable through natural behavior in a settled, safe life. This did not just add a new peak to the landscape. It nuked the entire map. Once the brain learns that a simple liquid can deliver a reward signal stronger than love, achievement, or creation, the entire motivational hierarchy is scrambled. The natural peaks, the difficult, meaningful pursuits, now look like insignificant foothills compared to the synthetic, guaranteed volcano of intoxication. This is dopamine colonialism. An external agent invades and reconfigures the internal economy of value. You are left with a brain that is, quite literally, bored by reality. Why build a family, write a book, or master a craft when your reward centers have been wired to recognize only the blunt, overwhelming signal of the drug? Your lack of motivation is not a character flaw. It is a neurological hijacking. Your desire has been colonized. Layer 5. The Temporal Vandal, sabotaging the soul's timeline. Time is the canvas of a life. A sovereign consciousness experiences time as a cohesive narrative: past lessons, present engagement, future potential. Alcohol is a temporal vandal. It attacks all three dimensions simultaneously. 1. The past, corrupted archives. Memory consolidation is the process of turning experience into wisdom. Alcohol blocks protein synthesis in the hippocampus, preventing this consolidation. Your experiences under its influence are not filed as wisdom in the cortex. They are dumped as corrupted, fragmented data in a psychic basement. You accumulate life without accumulating understanding. Your past becomes a haunted house of unprocessed events. 2. The present, the hijacked now. The sober present is a choice. The intoxicated present is a biological imperative. The brain's entire processing power is diverted to managing the toxin, regulating crashing neurotransmitters, managing inflammation, coordinating motor functions. There is no bandwidth left for presence. You are not in the moment. You are in the biological crisis response to the moment you just created. 3. The future, the collapsed horizon. The ability to project a vivid, compelling future self is housed in the same hippocampal prefrontal circuits that alcohol destroys. It doesn't just make you short-sighted. It surgically removes your mind's organ of aspiration. Your future becomes a mere extension of the craving present. You cannot dream because you have disabled the dream-generating hardware. You are left in a temporal flatland, unable to learn from yesterday, be present today, or build for tomorrow. Layer 6. The energetic grounding, the bioelectrical sabotage. You're not just a chemical bag. You are a bioelectrical phenomenon. Every thought, every heartbeat, Every cellular process is governed by delicate electrical potentials and electromagnetic fields. Your body is designed to be a coherent resonator, syncing its internal rhythms, heart, brain, cells, and harmonizing with the natural electromagnetic frequencies of the Earth, the Schumann resonance. Alcohol is a biochemical dirt thrown into this precise electrical instrument. It disrupts ion channels on cell membranes, scrambling the flow of potassium, sodium, and calcium, the very basis of neural firing and cellular communication. It dehydrates you, reducing electrical conductivity throughout the body's aqueous systems. It creates systemic inflammation, which generates chaotic, noisy electrical fields that interfere with the body's own coherent signals. The result is a being that is electrically foggy, incoherent, and disconnected. This is the physical basis of brain fog, of feeling disconnected from yourself and the world. You are not depressed. You are biologically detuned. Your antenna is bent, and you're receiving static instead of a clear signal from your own soul and from life itself. Layer 7. The epigenetic scroll, the poison pen of lineage. Your DNA is not destiny. It is a library. Epigenetics is the librarian, the system of chemical tags that decides which genes are read, expressed, and which are silenced, based on environment, behavior, and thought. Alcohol doesn't change the books in the library. It beats the librarian into submission and forces them to read only the worst, most tragic plays, over and over again. It hypermethylates, silences genes responsible for DNA repair, leading to cancer accumulation. Neurogenesis, the birth of new brain cells. Mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new cellular power plants. It hypomethylates, activates genes responsible for inflammatory cytokines, keeping your body in a state of perpetual war. Stress response pathways, keeping you in fight or flight. Addictive behavior reinforcement, making your own genes work against you. But the true horror is transgenerational epigenetics. These epigenetic changes, the terrified, poisoned state of your librarian, can be passed to your children and grandchildren. The fear, the inflammation, the predisposition to addiction and disease can be inherited. You're not just poisoning yourself. You are drafting a poison constitution for a kingdom of descendants you will never meet. You are writing your trauma into their very genetic expression. Layer 8. The collective resonance dampener. The societal frequency cage. Consciousness is not isolated. It is resonant. We entrain to each other's brainwaves, heart rhythms, and emotional states. A coherent, peaceful individual can raise the frequency of a room. A coherent group can create a field of palpable potential. Now, envision a society where the majority of adults voluntarily, weekly, ingest a consciousness-scrambling, coherence-destroying agent. The collective field is not neutral. It is actively dampened. It becomes a thick, low-vibration fog. This creates a frequency quarantine. The sensitive child who might grow into an intuitive healer is numbed by the discordant field. The potential innovator's spark of insight is drowned in the collective static. The natural empathy between people is short-circuited by self-absorption induced by the chemical. The culture's vibe is not an abstraction. It is the sum total of the neuroelectrical states of its individuals. A drinking culture is, by biochemical necessity, a culture of lowered resonance, shortened tempers, dimmed creativity, and spiritual myopia. It is a cage whose bars are made of collectively agreed-upon neurological suppression. Layer 9. The spiritual identity theft, the replacement of the I. At the core of your being is what we might call the authentic processor, the nexus of consciousness that experiences, chooses, and evolves. It is the seat of I am. Intoxication does not alter this processor. It forces it to log out. The system must keep running. So a low-resolution simulation boots up. This simulation, or the drunk personality, is not your true self unleashed. It is a buggy, legacy program running on cached memories, base instincts, and simplified emotional algorithms. The tragedy is attachment. After years, the authentic processor grows weak from disuse. The simulation becomes the default operator. You forget what it feels like to be fully logged in. You begin to identify with the caricature, with its petty grudges, its sentimental loops, its reactive humor. This is the ultimate subversion, spiritual identity theft. The you that makes choices, that navigates life, that loves and creates, has been replaced by a pharmacologically maintained puppet that believes it is you. And the world, being run by similar puppets, applauds the performance. Layer 10, the phylogenetic firewall, blocking human 2.0. We arrive at the ultimate speculative layer. Across traditions, there are hints of a next step for humanity, a state of sustained illumination, effortless genius, psychic cohesion, or extended vitality. Call it enlightenment, Christ consciousness, or the singularity of the self. Achieving this is not magic. It would be a biological upgrade, a new, stable operating mode of the human organism requiring specific biological conditions. Pristine cellular energy, mitochondria, flawless neural insulation, myelin, hyper-efficient brainwave coherence, gamma synchrony, and a silent, empowered immune system. Every single effect of alcohol is a sabotage of one of these precise prerequisites. It fragments mitochondria. It causes neuroinflammation that degrades neural wiring. It scrambles brainwave coherence. It sends the immune system into chaotic civil war. It is as if ethanol's function, at a species level, is to be a phylogenetic firewall, a built-in, self-administered limiter that ensures the human organism statistically never accidentally or intentionally stumbles into the biosettings that would trigger its own next stage of evolution. It keeps humanity safely, predictably, tragically on version 1.0. The Grand Awakening. The 12-step protocol for system reboot. Understanding the depth of the lock can be paralyzing. Therefore, we conclude not with a problem, but with a master plan for systemic revolt. This is not a recovery program. It is a reclamation and upgrade protocol. Step 1. The Sovereign Declaration. Write and sign a physical document. The Treaty of Self-Ownership. Declare your body, mind, and time as inviolate sovereign territory. This is a psychological line in the sand. Step 2. The Neurochemical Amnesty. Begin with targeted nutritional armistice. NAC to replenish glutathione, the brain's master antioxidant. Magnesium glycinate to calm neuronal hyperexcitability, and high-dose vitamin B complex to refuel poison metabolic pathways. You're suing for peace within your own biochemistry. Step 3. The Dopamine Landscape Reformation. For 90 days, engage in a pleasure audit. List every activity that gives you a sense of reward or peace. Systematically increase time spent on high-effort, high-meaning rewards, learning, creating, deep connecting, and decrease low-effort, low-meaning rewards, passive scrolling, junk food, gossip. You are manually remapping your motivational geography. Step 4. The Chronological Reclamation. Practice temporal triangulation. Each morning, spend 5 minutes. 1. Reviewing a past lesson with gratitude, not regret. 2. Anchoring in the present moment through breath and sensation. 3. Vividly simulating a desired future action for the day. You are retraining your brain to inhabit all 3 times. Step 5. The Energetic Grounding and Tuning. Daily earthing, 30 minutes barefoot on soil/grass, plus coherent heart breathing, heart math technique. You are discharging the static, earthing, and retuning your core rhythm, heart coherence, the foundation of your bioelectrical field. Step 6. The Epigenetic Command. In deep meditation, visualize your DNA as a luminous scroll. Send the conscious intention with the emotion of absolute authority and love. All epigenetic modifications born of fear, toxicity, and limitation are now erased. All codes for vitality, clarity, and evolved potential are now fully expressed. My biology is a temple of ascension. Step 7. The Social Resonance Resetting. Conduct a resonance audit of your inner circle. Categorize people as generators. They leave you energized, neutrals, or drains. Have one courageous, honest conversation with a generator. Gently create distance from a drain without drama. You are curating your local energy field. Step 8. The spiritual antenna repair. Micro moments of awe. Your daily task is to find one thing, a cloud shape, an insect's wing, a chord in a song, and devote 60 seconds of utterly silent, focused attention to it. You are polishing the lens of your perception. Step 9. The physical temple rededication. Intermittent fasting, 16:8, plus resistance training. Fasting induces autophagy, cellular house cleaning, removing damaged proteins. Resistance training signals anabolism, a command to rebuild stronger. You are orchestrating the demolition and reconstruction of your physical vessel. Step 10. The authentic processor login. Create a daily sovereign check-in ritual. Ask, am I responding from my core values or reacting from cached fear? Is this choice expanding my sovereignty or outsourcing it? This is the daily password to log back into your true self. Step 11. The lineage healing ritual. Write a letter to your ancestors. Thank them for their struggle. Forgive them their limitations. Declare, the chain of pain ends with me. I transmute your struggle into my power. Your journey was not in vain. Burn the letter. You are closing an ancient karmic loop. Step 12. The phylogenetic intent. Stand under the open sky. State aloud to the universe, I am a willing vessel for the next human potential. I clear the path. I accept the upgrade. My system is open and ready. You are switching your status in the cosmic queue from maintenance mode to ready for update. They told you it was a drink, a celebration, a relaxation. It was the lock, the distraction, the suppression. For 10,000 years, the game has been to make you an accomplice in your own containment. The game relies on one fatal flaw. It requires you to forget what you are. You're not a patient in need of a sedative. You're not a peasant in need of a pacifier. You're not a sinner in need of a counterfeit sacrament. You are the inheritor of a cosmos, wearing a biological suit of unimaginable complexity, possessing a consciousness that can touch the infinite. Your birthright is not numbness. It is sovereign sensation, not escape, but total, thrilling immersion. The lock is sophisticated, but the key was always in your possession. It is your unbroken, unattended, furious attention. The 12 steps are not a path to recovery. They are a declaration of independence, a systematic hacking of the 10,000-year-old code of limitation. The choice was never between drinking or not drinking. It is between continuing to play a rigged game in a gilded cage, or seizing the blueprints, walking out of the prison, and realizing with a shock, there were never any walls, only the hypnotic suggestion that there were. The suggestion ends now. The sovereignty is eternal. I am Napoleon inspires. The simulation is over. Welcome to the real world.